This is the moment on New Reality TV with me, Carl Munson.
And me, Louisa Munson. Now, we're just
You won't
laughing.
believe what she just said to me before we went live on air.
Okay, go on.
Sit up straight. Is it because you've got like a school teacherly outfit on?
It might be.
You do look like a primary school teacher,
It's
don't
so
you?
weird because it looks like we've deliberately
I look like
matched.
a geography teacher and you look like a primary school
or
teacher.
a librarian, maybe.
Librarian.
Yeah,
I've
always fancied myself as a librarian.
I've always fancied you as a librarian. I've always fancied you, full stop. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? That's in our part of the world.
Yeah.
Just going into the afternoon here. From the Bom Dia to the Boa Tarde. We live in Portugal, incidentally. Where are you in the world? Do let us know. It'd be lovely to hear from you. And how are you doing at the end of this? It's been a busy week, hasn't it?
It really has.
Chiron returns, Saturn returns. I'm exhausted, quite frankly.
Yes, I am quite exhausted as well. You know, like on Monday we had Tom from the Practical Alchemy show, and he was telling us about the quantum collapse of thought. And, you know, that's been playing on my mind.
I feel like I've had a quantum collapse this week of some sort.
Yeah, and we had lovely Sarah Taylor on Tuesday.
No messing.
No messing. She's always straight to the point.
Straight to the point. Yeah.
Really, really good. We were talking about your Saturn return on Wednesday. We also had Amy Doherty.
That was
just yesterday.
Blowing.
Oh my God, I walked around in a bit of a trance.
Yes.
For the rest of the day yesterday. Loads of comments, loads of really great comments. Yeah, if you're interested in learning more about Amy's work, you can go and see her show The Eyes Have It on New Reality TV, or head over to her website, irigenics.com. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like this week it's all been about sort of my mind being blown and things expanding.
Deb said good morning to you, Deb. And we know a few other people are watching as well. Come on, say hi.
Yeah.
It's Feel Good Friday. It's a nice
although we're feeling kind of
Can I have to ask?
out.
I need to mute the microphone for a moment. I need to cough.
Okay.
Which will mean us both being plunged into silence. Okay, that's better. Thank you very much. It was because we were laughing and giggling, I think. Right. Oh,
yes.
Boa tarde a todos. This is a bilingual, multilingual show, isn't it?
It sure is.
Boa tarde a todos from Bob and Viv. Are you in Portugal? You're in, well, you don't have to say where you are, but I think you're out and about traveling. Right. Okay. So
what's been arising
we're recapping,
for you?
Aren't we?
Yeah, we're kind of recapping, talking about what's been going on for us. Interested to hear what's been going on for you.
For sure.
I always think there's usual, you know, like themes that come up. So like yesterday I was in a course. I'm doing a course at the moment with a soul brand shaman called Whitney. Whitney's going to be on soon. And, you know, like I've been on this course for, I think, 7 weeks so far. And it's interesting because each week I'm starting to change my perspective on a lot of things, in particular in terms of work and stuff. And I've been having loads of epiphanies all week.
Yeah. And, the evidence is everywhere.
What do you mean?
You've been epiphing all over the place.
Well, there's bits of paper
what occurred
everywhere.
to me when you just said I'm on a course, there was a time in our lives, was there not? I speak collectively here, where if you're on a course, that was the most significant thing you did in your life, and it was the only thing. You're squeezing in doing a shamanic course, whilst raising children, running a home, running a business. I do a morning show, Good Morning Portugal. We do this show at lunchtime. Yeah. And it just seems like there's so much going on. So it's no wonder, in a way, we're sort of physically challenged, exhausted. But I have to say, in amongst all of that still, there is a sparkle, isn't there? There's something extraordinary going on. There is something
extraordinary going on. I mean, I think, you know, I notice this when I'm working with clients, and I'm pretty sure that if you are a coach or have been working with lots of clients, you know, in a sort of personal way for a long time, you'll notice that you go through quite a few changes. It's like, well, it's hard to describe. It's quite a ride. And, you know, doing the show and speaking to people every day about different aspects of awakening, consciousness, new perspectives and stuff, it's absolutely putting me on. It's like do you know what I was thinking yesterday? It's like my soul, and this might sound a bit like far out. Yeah, it might sound a bit boggly for Friday, but woo-woo. It just very woo-woo. But to me, you know, I was feeling yesterday when I sat down I've actually started doing some more meditation, which is that in as well. Unusual. Yeah.
Tom did mention that about bending time as well, didn't he?
Yeah, it does feel like I've been bending time, but I had this thought yesterday. My soul has decided to kind of uplift and to go through changes, and this is the most fun way that I could do it. sitting here with
by
you.
doing a live stream.
Yeah. Like
See, a
sitting
lot
with
of
you
people
every
would think,
day.
there's no way I'm going to expose myself publicly and take on doing a daily TV show at midday by way of relaxation and growth.
Well, yeah, but there's something uplifting about it, like meeting people, having conversations, like stopping.
No question, I agree.
Stopping
with you.
every day at midday for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would be different time where you are, but stopping every day for a conversation where kind of anything goes. We can be taken off. Like yesterday, I was taken off in so many different directions in that conversation with Amy. I mean, she's awesome, but like to think that up until yesterday, I hadn't thought that there might be links between astrology and the study of an iris. But now it's like, let's find out. Let's see.
And pardon the pun, we were blindsided by that.
Yeah.
Because we and you can't talk about it without realizing you're talking about vision and sight in some way.
Mm-hmm.
What is seen, the eyes, the whole thing, sight is such a key part of our reality, obviously, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
I just, was inadvertently making eye puns all the way through that interview yesterday. Yes. But also, it was a surprise, wasn't it? Because you can get to a point where you think, okay, I've been around for a while. I've been interested in this kind of broadly, these subjects for a while. And that was like, whoa. That was very novel, wasn't it? Deb agrees as well. Yeah. Look, something I haven't seen before, you see, and the eyes have it for sure. Yeah. And that's what she calls her show on New Reality TV.
Yeah, the eyes have it, unlocking your ancestral code, I think.
And even with all of that went on, that's going on at the moment, that went on yesterday, I still managed to have 2 hours sleep during the day as well, didn't I? I think at least. Something weird.
You passed out for about 3 hours.
Something weird is going on, isn't it? And talking of eyes as well, I just noticed my eye bags, my characteristic eye bags. If I was ever to have a caricature drawn on me by one of those street artists, they would draw 2 massive eye bags with a guy attached to them, like with a little bloke attached to some 2 massive eye bags. Whatever you're doing to me with this healing protocol that you're working on with me seems to be doing something as well. That's on top of all of that, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I don't mean this just, it's all about them talking about their own life all the time. The reason I'm mentioning it is because I think generally we have these tumultuous, crazy, busy times.
Yeah.
And you'd think to yourself, okay, I need to relax. I need to call time out and get peaceful in order to connect spiritually. It might be that the times within the busyness, if you want something done, ask a busy person. It's that sort of vibe that even though we might be busy, we might be able to, and I mean we in the collective of humanity, even with all this activity, that might be like an active meditation, an active realization inside all the chaos, or transcending the chaos, or behind or beyond the chaos. Maybe that's something that's going on at the moment, and maybe it isn't appropriate to keep wanting things to slow down all the time.
I think we've got to get used to things being fast.
What, the new pace?
Yeah, and being fleet of foot. We just have to. I think we need to find ways to be comfortable with massive amounts of change. Yeah,
I think you're right. I've certainly been practicing that, haven't we? So let us know what your perspective, your take is on that. Yeah. And I'm very aware when you mentioned Wednesday's show about talking about our returns, our mutual returns. I did dominate the show rather.
With your Saturn return.
And I mean, Saturn returns are quite dominating, so it's understandable, isn't it?
People know a lot about Saturn return. They've at least heard, the term Saturn return. I see it as a time of taking on responsibility in one way, shape or form. And I remember that there was somebody who joined us in the chat room who said they were going through their Saturn return just as their father was going through their Saturn return. Yeah. That's really common. I see that a lot in my practice, that we often take on more responsibility in our first Saturn return, become a parent, and then lo and behold, you're having your Saturn return as your child is having their first one. So that's quite normal.
And we made a greetings card after the show, didn't we?
Yeah, I forgot
about that as well. Greetings on your happy Saturn return.
Yes.
And we imagine that Hallmark might honor all of these different astrological maybe other phases of life as well.
Yeah, maybe
welcome to Crondom, or cards in Hallmark as well.
Yeah, that would be good for the Chiron return.
You're an elder now.
Everyone would be rapping, like ripping their cards.
Sorry to hear about your first Saturn return. Commiserations card. How about that? Yeah, Deb likes that idea, I think. We're going to make them, aren't we? Put them in the New Reality TV shop.
That's good. They could go in the shop.
They could, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that being some of the first people on this planet to receive
a Saturn return?
Happy second Saturn return. How's it going? Better than the first, huh? Thank you, Deb. We'll take that as a validation. So,
Yes.
Chiron, then what we were dominating by Saturn. What about Chiron then? What are you going through? What's happening for you?
So Chiron, the Chiron return, like Chiron is known as the wounded healer. He's not a planet, but he's treated as a planet by a lot of astrologers. But Chiron in mythology, he was like a healer. He was what are they called? Half man, half horse. Centaur.
Centaur.
So yeah, so he's a centaur, and he got involved in a bit of a fight. Got a poison arrow in the back of his ankle or hoof, actually. And because he was immortal, he was he didn't die of this poison, but he was doomed to like live forever with this poison in him, and it was really difficult. And he could heal everyone else. He could heal everyone else, no problem, but couldn't heal himself.
Hence the wounded healer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what he actually chose to do in the end, and I think this is a great story, and I'll explain why in a second. But in the end,
I'm enjoying
he
it.
swapped his immortality with a human who wanted to be immortal. So he kind of saved a human from dying.
That was an exciting night down the pub.
Where he got drunk with all his Chiron.
How are you? Oh, well, this ankle's playing me up. and I'm immortal. It's like, that combination. I mean, one or the other will be fine, but when they come together like this, it's really difficult. And the human's like, well, do you know what? I've been thinking about immortality. Why don't we swap?
Yeah. So you're saying that old Greek thing. Actually, what happened is they got drunk, and that could have happened.
A tavern.
Yeah. So anyway, Chiron, he gave his immortality away, and became mortal. At which point the pain stopped.
Wow.
But that was because he died.
Oh.
So it doesn't sound like
a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. But the point and the moral of the story is, I don't think what goes on with Chiron kills us necessarily. We don't have to physically die necessarily.
But the death of something.
Yes.
Right.
And so what Chiron allowed himself to do was to fully feel the effects of the poison. So whatever was preventing that poison from coming in and transforming him and killing him, but whatever was stopping that transformation, was stopping him from transcending it. And so what he did, he was able to release his pain by fully feeling it. And so what I think with Chiron, when he shows up in your birth chart, he shows where you've got this kind of wound that you can't quite touch, and that you protect quite a bit. But I think of ourselves, and this is just mine, I've not seen another astrologer say this or anything, but I think we are beings that transform things. So for instance, we see something, it comes in, and we do something with that image in our head.
Even making a meaning is an alchemy of a kind, isn't
like
it?
I drink water, it comes out as pee.
Yes.
I eat food, it comes out the other end.
Right, we get the picture.
Yeah,
picture.
we have thoughts about ourselves, or we have experiences, and we process them, and then we can release them. I think what happens with a lot of these wounds is we don't process them. We think that they are so great that they're going to kill us, and so we kind of I think of them as little wounded trinkets that we have on our fireplace,
or the charm brace, the emotional charm bracelet.
Yeah. So for instance, we have these things outside of ourselves, and like we might talk about our bad knee or this bad experience, this breakup, and it's a big story.
And it's fixed.
It's fixed.
Cardinal traumatic events.
Yes. So we have all these really big stories, and we've got them outside of ourselves. So we see the story, we talk about the story, but we're not transforming the story necessarily because it's outside of ourselves. So Chiron, when you come up to your Chiron return, it's your invitation to take it on and allow it to, like, the reason we keep it outside is so we don't have to feel the pain of it, but we feel the pain of it, and then the body transforms it.
My goodness.
That's my take on it.
No, and then it's a very good take. Can I, at this halfway point of the show, just suggest we feel the weight of our bodies on the chair?
That's a good idea.
You know what? And I need to cough again as well. So let me just do that. Just take a breath yourself, and have an emphasis on breathing out as well. Let go of the old air, metaphorically. Okay, so just do that for a moment. Right. Okay. Sound is back, and you may well be able to hear the rain pouring down outside our window. It's a torrent here, and we will come back to this fantastic Chiron discussion in just a moment. But it might be possible to have a grounded conversation in the sense of not just thinking about it as a concept, but us being in our bodies, feeling the weight of the body on the chair, being aware of the breath coming in and out of the body, and being full stop, being and having our senses that are connecting us with our immediate reality, and have a conversation from that place, bilocate, if you like, because often when we're having conceptual conversations, it can get us whizzy up here, can't it, in the mind? But we maybe will have a holistic discussion and feel it as well as hear it.
Well, I'm already in my body now.
Great.
Excellent. You can hear my voice is lower now, I think.
Your voice has gone deeper into your chakras. Now, a great explanation, Louisa. And from what you said, and it was a very, very strong explanation, it would appear that Chiron, not only are you going through a Chiron return yourself, but there might be a collective Chiron experience. Chiron appears to be the archetype of these times by having these events that we have locked away or don't talk about, but they still affect our lives, and our transcendence and our liberation might come from embracing them, rather than ignoring them or having workarounds. I mean, that's such a good model of society as we see it at the moment, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting because Chiron moves quite slowly through the charts. He whizzes through some signs and then is quite slow. He's got an elliptical orbit, and for quite a long time he was in the sign of Pisces, and the sign of Pisces is quite mysterious, and so I think it was very difficult for people to really know what it was that was ailing them. They couldn't quite put their finger on it, but in between 2017 and 2018, I think that's the right, I think it was April 2018. This is off the top of my head, but I remember he started coming into the sign of Aries. I think he came in, went back into Pisces, and then back again, as they sometimes do. But he's been in the sign of Aries ever since. And Aries as a sign is about really identifying with things. It's the sign of the identity, and really feeling things in a quite a painful way as a sort of explosion. And we get really sort of like finite descriptions. And so I remember writing a blog piece at that time saying that this was going to be a time when our triggers all come up. And sure enough, since 2018, people have got really up close and personal with ideas of triggering, psychosis, behaviors, all sorts of things.
We're in the age of triggering.
We are massively in the age. And he's still going to be in the sign of Aries until I think midway through 2026. So we are coming to the crescendo of triggering. Last April, for instance, I think on the 8th of April, we had a solar eclipse actually activating Chiron. And I remember April being a month when I got lots and lots of inquiries astrologically. But yeah, Deb, you're asking, so you're saying, does that happen in our 50s? Yes, it actually starts around 49 and can end as late as 51. And so what happens is Chiron, like you're born, so you've got the place where it is at your birth, and then Chiron carries on moving round the zodiac, and then by the time you get to about 49 to 50 to 51, Chiron comes back to the exact spot he was in when you were born. And so if you think about your journey and all the little wounds that you've had, so maybe at 2 you got a sibling, and maybe at 3 something happened, maybe at 8, I mean, loads of people go through divorce, or there's all these like things that happen, or you might get bullied at school and things like that. So if you remember some of those childhood traumas, as you're coming up to 49, 50, and then just beyond, Chiron will move over all of those parts in your chart where you're activated before. And so you can start replaying. So for instance, I had a sister arrive when I was about 2.5. And I know there's a lot of sort of bad feeling that came up in me, or insecurities, which is quite understandable. When Chiron moves in about 2 years or so, as Chiron moves over that point that it was in when I became a sister, I may well get a re-triggering on not feeling adequate in myself. So like as you're coming up to your Chiron return, the big lesson is anywhere where you're still healing and hurting, it's time to let it go. You want to let it go because it's going to go round again and hit all those spots where you've been activated. So heal yourself as much as possible, really feel it. And the funny thing is, leading up to this time, and I think empaths, which I'm guessing you are if you're watching, because I guess we're going to be sort of attracting empathic types. If you're an empath, you probably feel it coming into your 50s. So like 48, 49, it's the time of becoming an elder, you know, where you can, it's like you're talking to yourself and you say, dear child, put that down. That's not yours to carry anymore.
Wow.
Let it go. Just let it go. And of course, when you're reviewing all these old hurts and things from childhood, you realize that they were made, you know, your decisions and beliefs were made from your childlike self. And now you're an adult and hopefully you're acting like an adult. So it's a time of coming into yourself and a time of crowdom for women.
And it's an optional time, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the wonderful thing about, I suppose it's connected to the idea of free will, isn't it? This is the human transformational healing conundrum paradox, isn't it? Because you're not forced to. You can, and this is what the Chiron archetype or analogy or fable or whatever it is represents to me anyway, as I'm hearing it, is you can feel that you can become mortal. You can know you're going to die, but really live.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
You can embrace that, or you can go for the long tail of immortality, which is to a human is a myth, isn't it? It's like we feel like we're going to live forever because we are immortal in a sense. It's like we kind of cross-wire that, don't we? We believe in our immortality when it suits the ego, but we don't sometimes when it suits our greatness. So, and then we can rewire and repurpose that, can't we? We can embrace the fact that there are parts of us that run us and not optimally or not. That's our choice. And it really seems like that's where we're at in human terms, in our culture, is like, do we address the things that continue to hurt us that we won't talk about, and pretend everything's okay? Or do we say, okay, it's come around again. It's come up for some reason. The kids are talking about it. And we don't like it, do we? Like there's a Mother Mulberry's Tea Club talking about mass hysteria among children in South Africa. And I don't know the specifics of that. But you might say that as much as in our times at the moment, there are young people and what's called the woke culture saying things that are uncomfortable to older people, and older people are like, we don't want to hear that. But maybe they're bringing something up that might be looked at and embraced for the sake of all of us to move on. It's a possibility, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to get too fixated on particular, political ideology or anything. But the point there is that things come up either to be brushed aside again, or to be looked at, embraced, and to move on in that chironic way. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Love. Thanks. So I just want to address some comments coming from Mother Mulberry and Deb. So we had 2 periods of mass hysteria in South Africa affecting children in 2023 and 2024. There was incredible astrology going on there.
Right.
I'd love to have a look at that.
Yes.
You can send me the dates or something. But I sometimes think, where a bit like Carl is saying, like the way we're hoping to raise our children is we've decided, like we've drawn a line. I've got this ruler, like we're drawing a line on the past that we've taken on from our parents and our grandparents and these old wounds. And, the way we're kind of raising our children is like whatever we have been suffering from, because it's being passed down to the best of our ability, it stops with us. And we're going to start a new pattern. But I think where we don't heal things, our kids show up with it, enough.
For another go.
Totally.
I mean, it's like when you move, isn't it? And we know there are people here who are moving around the world. It's like when you're packing, you say, should we take this with us? Yeah. And that's not just a material thing. That's a spiritual thing as well, isn't it? That's a mental and emotional thing. Does this thought, does this pattern still serve me as I move on into the new lands of my life?
Yeah.
Or shall I give it a look and talk it through and consider it and maybe be free of it?
Definitely. I think that does, to answer what Deb's saying, I do think that answers about siblings, and also what Amy was saying in the show yesterday. There are attitudes that we're born with our siblings as well. You've got beautiful Carl.
Amy was saying that, wasn't she, as well?
Yeah.
Yesterday? Yeah.
In my
see it in the
opinion,
eyes. Yeah.
it was a power event bringing change. Yeah, absolutely. I think anywhere where healing is repressed, it bursts out anyway. And then, of course, it becomes more violent or more, it churns things up a bit more. Curse to cure parenting.
That sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yes, that's how it feels.
And there is a tendency, isn't there, that you think, okay, I'm not bringing any of that with me.
Yeah.
And that's a problem then, isn't it? It's like,
because you're still in resistance. You're still carrying the same story, aren't you?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
No.
Yeah. And having sort of quick knee-jerk reactions
Yeah.
of doing the opposite is a start of looking at things, isn't it? But to have that as the end of it,
it's not the integration, is it?
It's not integration. It's not transformation necessarily.
Yeah. Now, Debs was saying, I got cancer.
Hi, Hugh and Jane as well.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Hugh and Jane. Debs was saying that's when I got cancer at age 50. In your birth chart, if according to like how Chiron is laid out in your birth chart and the aspects that it's making, Chiron can also show how you get ill, what kind of illnesses you get, and also a lot about how you heal. Interestingly, a lot of healers, doctors, and coaches have a really strong sort of constellation of Chiron. You know, like Chiron will be connected. In my chart, he's in a trine with my sun and in a trine with my midheaven, which is about my career. So I've always been sort of attracted to helping people. So Chiron shows up as the healer and also the healing. So it's fascinating. So that's what's been going on for me. I also realized
very powerful
in looking at sort of feeling the childhood patterns coming up at the moment for me, given that I'm going through my Chiron return, I realized there's a lot of healing to take place around roles. And so one of the things I realized earlier this week is that, you know, I've been taking on the role of an astrologer for a really long time, and it's become part of my identity. But actually, astrology is just a tool I use.
Yeah.
Really,
we see that with every profession.
Yeah,
don't
and I've been starting to feel quite heavy
Yes.
under, I'm an astrologer rather than the whole person. And so I really see that at the moment, the whole me is about to emerge in a new way. So I just think all of these times, these returns are really special.
Yeah.
You know, they really help us to see ourselves if we're up for the challenge of it.
Yeah. So another way of looking at this might be, if you're feeling a massive pressure to change, it might be because there's quite a big pressure to change. It's like, you know, life is bringing you circumstances which in other times, on other occasions, you might not feel it so strongly. But we might consider, mightn't we, that if there are so many signs that, you know, that our metaphorical shoes feel too tight, it's time to look at the feet or the shoes, isn't it? Yeah. Or both.
Yes.
Sorry
definitely.
if that's a bit
no,
a bit clunky, but you know, I do think it's the times we're in. I think we are in chironic, if that is the right adjective. We are in chironic.
Well, also
chronic
like
times.
chronic.
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. And it's Centaur, Sagittarian, because there was a reference to Saggy Chiron connections, possibly, I think, from Mother Mulberry's Tea Club earlier on.
I missed that.
Is there Centaur?
I think I can't remember. I mean, Sagittarius is the sign of the centaur, but there are lots and lots of different centaurs, and Jupiter's the ruler of Sagittarius. But Chiron does, I think, have an affinity with, I think, Virgo. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, because Virgo has this like desire to clean things up and make things fit for purpose. I'll look that up and get back to you on that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do think Chiron has a kind of good, like there are some Sagittarian values in there, in like finding your truth and things.
Mrs. M, we have to go.
I know.
We have to go,
Such
don't
a
we?
shame,
But
'cause I wanted to talk more.
Nothing gets your attention like IBS.
Yes, sorry to laugh.
In every sense.
Mother Mulberry, I always think things like that with our digestion. Ceres, dwarf planet Ceres, what is going on there? That's my hot tip. Anyway,
I'm so sorry we can't get to all the comments. We've got to go.
bye for now.
Ciao.